Hello and welcome, everybody, to the Hispanic Patriot podcast, a weekly podcast broadcast live from a secret, undisclosed location in the heart of the newest battleground state of Colorado. Here we tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help us God. My name is Nicholas Razzo, and without further ado, here is our fearless patron, Hugo Chavez Ray. Give it up for Hispanic Patriot.
All right. As our buddy, um, what is his name? McConaughey?
Yeah, likes to say.
McConaughey likes to say. All right. Yeah. Well, we're here again, once again, for the Hispanic Patriot. We're a little off sync tonight. I think it's the weather change or some other things floating around the air.
I think we're getting
Nick,
out, my
Nick,
friend, because we
Nick
got
is a little bit under the
I am
weather.
a little bit under the weather, folks. So you
Uh,
might see a little bit of, maybe some fun loopiness. Who knows? Maybe they'll enjoy it.
Yeah, so we're gonna have some fun tonight. We're gonna talk a little bit about uh, the big Trump rally that was here last Friday. That
Really big.
I had the pleasure of being at. We also have the Trump town hall today with women in Georgia, which Harris Faulkner hosted. And that was a very interesting town hall because he was speaking to women voters, all the ones that allegedly hate Trump. You're going to see that they don't hate Trump. And there's a couple other topics. Of course, we're, what is it, about 20 days away now from the election. And already hearing from different states that are reporting record voter turnout, which is a huge plus. That's a huge positive sign that indicates that people are engaged and that this is going to be a huge turnout like we expect. Um, Now, not to jinx anything, but we're fully expecting President Trump to prevail with God's help, and we hope that everyone exercises their right to vote because without you, nothing can happen. So don't wait till election day. If you've got the opportunity to vote now, vote because that helps your candidates in their tracking to know what voters they need to contact and which ones they don't need to contact. So that's one of the biggest reasons to go ahead and vote because that saves the campaigns and everyone a lot of time and effort trying to figure out who has voted and who hasn't voted. And that's a huge thing when it comes to this election. So please, if your state allows early voting, mail-in voting, or whatever, we got our ballots. I got my ballot last Saturday. I voted immediately. And we've got states that are what they call early voting, but in person. Um, Not all states are like Colorado, where we're 100% mail-in voting, which personally I hate. But hopefully, somewhere down the line, we can change that. But voting is huge, folks. The record numbers being reported from Georgia, Pennsylvania, and other places where early voting has already begun. For example, in Georgia today, as I heard on the town hall with President Trump, they reported 306,000 people had already voted on day one. Now, consider that the previous record was 137,000. That tells you what's going on. People are engaged, people are ready to uh, make a big change, and and the rest is up to you voters. So, again, get out and vote. Get your ballots in. Um, I don't recommend using the mail, even though they call it mail-in voting. Take it to a drop box yourself and personally put it in there, or your local county clerk's, the county or the in Denver, you have to do it at the county clerk's office. You can turn them in, But regardless, if you don't have the ability to get to a drop box, call somebody that can. For example, if you're disabled or just don't have opportunity to get out and about in a vehicle, there are volunteers available to come pick up your ballot and deliver it for you. Remember, do not give your ballot to someone you did not solicit to do it. Um, there are a lot of shysters out there and people looking to take advantage, especially of the elderly. So we encourage you to be very careful about that. But there are fellow Republicans. It could be a family member, somebody you know from your local Republican Party. If you don't know someone, call your local Republican Party office and ask if someone's available to come pick up your ballot. But please, let's get those ballots in ASAP.
Yes, and definitely treat this as a, if you want something done right, do it yourself. Absolutely mentality here. Trust yourself with your ballot, because, as Hugo said, especially for those of our viewers with family members in nursing homes, especially, or other places where there's sort of organization of elderly potential voters, be very, very cautious and make sure that you have people you trust take care of those for you, because it's very important. We know what happened in 2020, and we don't want that to happen again. So I don't know about you, Hugo, but I'm personally very proud of the voter infrastructure that Republicans are building this election cycle. Because we of course have some friends who say, "Oh, well, voting, there's no point to voting. It's all going to be
Yeah,
rigged, or the machine, until we fix the machines. There's no point to voting." Well, Americans, we face impossible odds and overcome them. So if we can win even through that, it's worth even just trying, because we're making amazing strides. And
yeah,
no matter what happens, and we know what's going to happen, Donald Trump is going to win. This infrastructure is going to continue for the Republican Party in the future. So just thank you to all the people who are helping people register to vote, helping people realize that they're Republicans, helping people get this process going. So thank you to all those people working hard out there.
yep. If you're if you live in a neighborhood where you have a new neighbor, go and approach them and ask them because they may be from out of state. If they haven't registered yet, they can register. In Colorado, you can register all the way up to election day. So
Yeah, take
they can
advantage of it.
register and go to a polling place and vote. There's a list of all the early voting polling places, and there's one near you. Now, one other thing that I read today, and I had a discussion with someone on Facebook. Someone posted they live in the state of Washington, which is a deep blue state, as we know, and this person is conservative, and they were saying, "Well, um, I'm going to vote, but I don't think my vote is going to mean anything." And so I thought about it for a minute, and I responded, and I said, "Well, in the sense that you live in a blue state, you may be correct that, for example, President Trump may not win that state. However, your vote does go to the national popular vote count. So, in that regard, your vote is very important because I've got it on good authority that President Trump, has a very good chance of winning the popular vote this time around, in addition to the Electoral College, which would send a huge, strong message to the nation and to the leftists in this country that we're not standing for their shenanigans anymore, and that we're going to take our country back and we're going to gear it and steer it in the way that we want it to go, and not in the way that the leftists, the Marxists, the communists. And by the way, if you don't know, the um, the American, I don't know how you even say it, the American Communist Party
Yep.
um, has endorsed the Harris Walls ticket.
What
So
a shocker!
that should be all you need to know about who to vote for, unless of course you're a communist. And if you are, then good luck to you,
Yeah, we
because
don't have a lot of nice. We usually love everybody and have a lot of nice things to say about everyone. Communists are one of those groups where we really, really don't. We don't apologize for that at all. And Hugo,
no,
one thing I want to say: are we sure these are such blue states now? Because as we know, Donald Trump visited Coachella, California. and drew an amazing big crowd, which I thought was amazing. You know, I think that his tour here to Colorado and to California shows something. Is we want to ask a question: is my state a deep blue state? Or are there just so many people who are suppressed and going along with the leftist radical aggressive agenda that they're not willing to organize and talk to their friends and build that grassroots beginning of party switching?
Right.
You know, Trump is literally making all of us, you know, we remember at the RNC, we were making the joke, we were all so pumped up. And if they're not careful, we're going to put California into play and make them really sweat. Well, that we were just joking then, but Donald Trump made it real. So that's
Well,
amazing.
interesting thing about California, if you dissect the state, um, everything outside of the metropolitan areas of Los Angeles and San Francisco are very red.
Just
The
like my home
people,
state of
the,
Illinois.
the people in the rural areas of California and a lot of the San Diego area, because it's a huge military town.
A lot of the North, too.
Um, and if you were dissecting the state, you would see that outside of the city of Los Angeles and San Francisco, the majority of the people in that state are very red. So it's not. I mean, if you just think back a couple of decades ago, they overwhelmingly elected Ronald Reagan as their governor for two
Absolutely.
terms.
California used
Um,
to be a Republican stronghold. There's no reason it couldn't be
yep.
again. It's not. They're not entitled to California. That should be a
Yeah.
slogan for California Republicans. Democrats are not entitled to my state. As an Illinoisian, I definitely agree with that. Chicago's the same way.
Yeah.
Chicago, a couple places, Peoria, stuff like that. It's the cities dominating really the countryside. But you know what? People aren't
Well,
taking that anymore.
interesting thing also that you bring up Chicago because I just watched a video the other day. In fact, President Trump was in Chicago for
Yes,
a
he
town
was.
hall, and guess who showed up there? The people of Chicago, who are all, I don't know if they're still registered Democrats or whatever, but there is a huge backlash coming from the people because of the immigrant crisis there in Chicago, which they have flooded the city with immigrants, illegal ones, and taken benefits and funds that are supposed to be going to American citizens that are, in need of those funds. They have taken it away from them and given it to illegal immigrants, and that has created a huge backlash. There's a lady, a black lady, that started this group in Chicago, and it's called Turn Chicago Red,
Oh yeah.
and there are men, women, in all the communities in Chicago that have outright said they will not be voting for Democrats this cycle. So they may be in for a huge shocker there in their own local and state elections, as well as the presidential election, because I don't see those. Well, they've already said they're not voting for Kamala. So, and these are black people mostly, and of course, former President Obama was at a meeting. I think it was Pittsburgh. He was speaking to a group of young black men, and he was trying to shame them into voting for Kamala, and they were not having any of it. They basically rejected him and told him, "Butt out. This is our business, and just because someone is black or may be black, we're not going to be bullied into voting and for her." And Obama was kind of taken aback, and he made some snide comment about, "Y'all are lucky Michelle isn't here." And, and that really blew up the crowd. And it's like, really? You're going to threaten us
It,
with your wife?
You know,
Give me a
you might not remember this, Hugo, but as a young person active in the politics during Obama, Obama had this thing called Gen 44, so Generation 44. You remember he was the 44th president. So he really felt that he owned the youth, and especially the black youth. So you have to understand how personally hurtful it is to Barack Obama that the black youth is revolting against us. Big shout out to our fan Amber. It absolutely is a full moon. Things are getting weird, but you know what? I think they're getting weird in our direction. Things are happening during this election cycle that have never ever happened in American political history. We have revolts by the black and Hispanic communities. And you notice this is why the Harris campaign is pushing so hard for the white vote. White dudes for Kamala, or there
Oh,
was
yeah.
a horrendous ad which was, I'm man enough. And the idea was, I'm man enough to elect a woman. And the guys that they chose for this had to be it looks like they stuck office mates in
Oh, yeah.
country outfits and said, okay, do your best to, not act flamboyant. It was very cringy.
Kind
And
of
it
like
wasn't
that
a good
ad
look.
that's running here in Colorado about Amendment 79, where it shows this guy and his alleged wife sitting on the couch saying, "Oh, we're voting for amendment. I'm voting for Amendment 79 because it's time that we stop trying to take women's rights away and blah blah blah." And so I did a little research, and guess what I found out?
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
Those two clowns are actors. They're
Of
not real
course,
people.
of course they are. What?
Uh,
Because you know what? What real husband would turn to his wife and say, "You know what? You're right. I think you should abort your baby. I think we shouldn't be parents. Like
that's one of the
that marriage isn't gonna last very long."
that's part of the commercial where he says, I have to protect the right of my
Oh
wife and
my god.
my daughter to be able to abort and kill their babies."
My
Basically, what
bloodline doesn't deserve to exist at all, man. That's why I'm voting for. And where do you find these people? Are Democrats so self-hating in certain cases that they believe that? I actually had a friend of mine who was a leftist who said, "Well, why would you want to leave Illinois? We got weed and abortion." It's like, oh, fantastic! So I can numb myself while killing off my bloodline. That's a great. What do the Democrats have this year, Hugo? Really, what are they offering besides Hillary
nothing.
Clinton in a trench coat? I mean, it's quite
Well,
amazing.
statistics are showing that unlike what the left wing media wants to portray, abortion is actually an issue that's way down the list this time around.
Well, there's a
Even
couple
though
other more important things. Just plug in the inflation calculator and see where you're at right now. Prices doubled in less than 20 years. It was in the last 60 years. Prices
yeah,
haven't moved that badly. So
I
we
think they're
have
I think
bigger
they're
issues.
yeah, I think their push for abortion is backfiring this time.
Big time.
It's because President Trump has been very clear that he's not going to sign a national abortion ban like the left wants to keep saying.
No.
Oh, he's going to sign a national abortion ban. He pushed for Roe v. Wade to be overturned because it needed to be in the state's hands. Number one, it's a state's
Federalism.
issue, not a federal issue. Number two, he never said he was going to sign a national abortion ban, but yet these clowns on the left want to put out their agenda, which is to codify Roe v. Wade into the Constitution. Well, they might want to read the Constitution and the separation of powers a little bit more,
Oh,
because
that's asking for a lot.
the Supreme Court ruled that Roe v. Wade was unconstitutional, which means they sent it back to the states to decide for themselves individually. So if these clowns in the Congress think that they can now push and put it on the Constitution, which number one, it couldn't be without a constitutional convention. They never mentioned that.
Well, that would
Uh,
require them to have constitutional law knowledge, Hugo. A
yeah.
lot of Democrats, that's the reason they are. So
So this this message that they're putting out is they keep saying, "Well, would you vote to codify Roe v. Wade in the Constitution?" No, I believe in the real Constitution, not the phony one that you guys want to push. And so but let's just assume for a minute that they were successful in passing some sort of bill that allegedly federalizes Roe v. Wade. Guess who would step in immediately and quash it?
the
The
Supreme Court.
Supreme Court of the United States.
Well, that
Because,
institution, Hugo, that is in the way. That's why they want to pack it and reform it. Reform it.
yep, Oh yeah, they want to pack it with 15 liberals so that so nothing can ever get passed for conservatives
Ever
ever
again.
again.
But during my coming of age in politics, there was a rumor going around in 2012 that Mitt Romney was going to ban tampons. I mean, this anti-Republican stick of towards women, it's not working anymore. Women are realizing, wow, Republicans are not anti-women. This abortion thing is not the end of the world. It's interesting that as my generation wants to have kids, we're starting to rethink whether abortion is the most important thing in the world anymore. And I'm glad to see it, because seeing
Yep.
an entire generation not want to go on was kind of heartbreaking. So I'm glad to see the national revolt against this sort of thing.
Yep. Absolutely. So that's what's been going on. Let's talk a little bit about. I want to share with the audience a little bit about the Trump rally that we had this past Friday in Aurora. Um, I was a volunteer, so my friend Raymond Garcia and I were uh, assigned the post of basically the last gatekeepers. We were the last people that people saw going as they were going into the arena.
They were the last line of
And
defense.
it was the last line defense, yeah. But I had to be there. I was there like 4:20 in the morning that day, and got to park in the preferred parking lot, of course, and everything. But then we did. We were manning the traffic coming into the reserve parking lot for a while, and then we went to our post when they started opening up the doors to the convention center. But um, the reports that I've seen and heard, we have seen the videos of the line that stretched for almost 5 miles. NBC, who is no friend of conservatives, okay, reported that it was the single longest line they had ever seen for any event. Now, picture this. We are in allegedly deep blue Colorado, and one of the attendees I was talking to him at the entrance there, and he made a good point. He says, look at all these people. And we were watching, and we could see the line, uh, not only in the parking area where it was all serpentine through, but then it went out through the parking lot of the hotel, up the sidewalk, out to 64th Avenue, then up towards E470. And then it turned left by a set of apartments, and then it went out of view beyond that. But the
Wow.
but what he told me was really funny. He looked at me. He says, I thought there weren't any conservatives in Colorado. It was like
Well,
I
think
said,
again,
yeah,
buddy. Here we are.
yeah. I said, your eyes are deceiving you. It's AI.
Like a Kamala rally, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
non-existent people. But it goes
So
to
this,
show, we Republicans live in blue states. We often forget that we still exist in them.
yeah. But anyway, the crowd was just huge, and the
Massive.
estimates that they kept upping the capacity inside the arena. The fire marshal allotted up to 20,000. It started at about 4,500. It went to 9,000. Went to 12,000. Went to 15,000. As the crowd grew, they went ahead and upped it to 20,000. So basically, 20,000 is what we're able to get inside of the arena. Lucky for me, I had VIP passes, and I ended up in the third row center stage, right by the podium. So,
Fantastic view, and you can see those views on our Facebook page. You can see the
yeah,
pictures. There's a couple of videos as well on the main page. So go and see that from Hugo's perspective there, because
yeah.
it was pretty nice.
So we had a lot of conversations with people that were in line, and I spoke to this one individual, asked him where he was from, and he said Alaska, and I
Wow.
said, you came all the way to Colorado to see President Trump? He said, you're damn right. He said he flew in the night before and was flying out that same night. He said it was well worth the trip. And he was one of the early birds, so he was one of the 20,000 that got inside. But left outside after the doors were closed, the estimates ranged anywhere from 50 to 75,000 outside. So add that to the 20,000 inside, and you've got a crowd approaching 100,000 people in the state of Colorado for President Trump. Some people are downplaying the numbers. I've already called a couple of people on it, and I said, no. One was saying, oh, there was 10,000 inside. Yeah, 10,000 in the first half hour, maybe. No, I know because I spoke to the fire marshal and the security people myself, and they were keeping me up to date about what the attendance was and what the capacity they were going to allow inside the arena. And as you know, fire marshals are pretty strict. So, once a capacity is reached, they shut it down. And that's what happened. I was very pleased with the security check-in. When I first saw this team of TSA agents coming up, I said, oh no, they're letting TSA do this? And then I later found out that there were Secret Service inside along with them. So I got to say, they did a fantastic job of moving the people through the security checkpoint. It was all, excuse me, very smooth, and it moved along pretty good. We started letting people in around 9:30 in the morning, and I left to go inside at 1:00. And once I got inside, then, Raymond followed me in about 15 minutes later. But they had a big screen TV outside in the parking lot for the unfortunate ones that weren't able to go in. But the attitude and the enthusiasm was even great outside. They weren't mad that they weren't able to get in. They wanted to be a part of this historic event. And this rally, I got to say, this is my fourth rally with Trump, and I'll tell you, this was the absolute biggest crowd that I'd seen. Even the one in Colorado Springs didn't approach the size of this crowd.
The one that you and I first met at, in fact.
Yep. So,
that goes to show it's about the people. It's not just about Trump. People who call us Trump cultists, they have no idea what this movement is. I saw people at that Colorado Springs World Arena rally that I would have never seen in politics until Trump. We have to understand politics used to be dominated by political junkies, people like, me, you, and Hugo. But now there are the common man who are actually realizing the power of their citizenry. That's America right there. That is what this is. So it's not just about Trump. He might be the leader, the vanguard, but it's about the people. And Trump would be the first to agree.
Well, the anti-Trump crowd just doesn't get it. They want to call us. They want to call us cultists. They want to call us brainwashed. They want to, and that's an interesting one considering who they follow
and the media that they have. I like Hulk Hogan's word for us, the Trumpites. You know what I mean? That was fun. He had a lot of fun names for us.
Yeah. So to me, it's a movement. It's more than a political party now. This is the Trump movement, and when Trump moves on, I believe there's going to be a void unless someone steps up and continues the movement. And I hope to God that it's going to be someone that is as charismatic and as committed as President Trump is, because I really believe that this is something that has been unprecedented in political history in the United States. You can't point to a time when you had a candidate like this that drew the masses that he draws everywhere he goes. So, they can call it whatever we want. We call ourselves American Patriots. And in our case, we are the Hispanic Patriots. And so it's a matter of understanding rather than trying to belittle. But you know, I've learned to tune them out because they're clueless about what they're facing, and that's fine with me. The media is not going to be our friends. They've done everything to cover for this horrendous candidate that they've got on the left, and
Who hasn't gotten
it,
a single vote and hasn't
yeah,
won a single election.
yep, and she won't. She
And
won't.
thanks to all of you out there, all the 100,000. Shout out to Mr. Raymond Garcia, who does confirm, in fact, yes, 100,000 plus. All
Yep,
of these friends, brothers, and sisters, fellow Americans that you all saw there. You know who you
absolutely.
are. You're the one.
Yep,
You are the ones making all this happen.
absolutely. And one of the things I'll leave everyone with, I was so pumped up the night before that I was unable to go to sleep.
I can
Um,
confirm that. It's true.
I went I went to bed. I tried to go to sleep, and my mind was kept racing about the event, about the event, about the event. About 2 a.m., I just got up out of bed, had some coffee, watched a little bit of TV, and just kind of just went through the night. And by the time I got to the arena, I was running on adrenaline, and I was on my feet all day, with the exception of the time that we got inside and it was able to sit down for a little bit during the rally. But by the time I got home, I was running on fumes. Um, I had dinner. Uh, my wife said I passed out almost immediately, and then about 8:30, she woke me up. He says, "Go to bed." So I got up, took my meds, went to bed. Next thing I know, it was 14 hours later. Um,
You did.
that's how
You did say that night you were going to get the best sleep that you had in a while.
I did. I didn't. I mean, I can't. I mean, the minute my head hit the pillow, I was out. There was no delay, and I got some of the best sleep. They say you can't catch up on sleep, but I guess I did my best.
You proved it wrong right there, And I unfortunately, my sickness started pretty much that exact day, so I was at home doing some of the media work, and in that work, big shout out to Mr. John Fabricatori, who was also shouted out by Donald Trump. He and I were
Yeah,
helping some voters on Twitter. Amazing person who's trying to be a candidate right there, who's willing to help individual people make sure that they can register to vote. So big shout out
yeah,
to him. We were doing that while while Trump was shouting him and our friend and person that we were very happy to interview, Greg Lopez. So you will be able to see the links for both of those interviews there in the description below.
yep. So now, what I want to do is I'd like to switch gears and talk a little bit about President Trump's town hall today with Harris Faulkner on Fox News. She put together a town hall made up entirely of women in Georgia, and we'd like to play a couple of clips out of that and talk a little bit about some of the questions that he got, how he handled himself, and and I also want to mention that the people out there that claim that women hate Trump don't know what they're talking about. Uh, it's
They do
uh,
not.
it's it's a matter of watching some of these women. So let's go ahead and play one of the clips with President Trump, and um, and we'll play a couple of different ones on different topics. So let's start with the first one. Go ahead.
Absolutely. We got that up there. It's been back in the backstage part right here. And what we'll see here actually is quite literally the introduction that Trump gets by Harris Faulkner. So let's see very much just how much women hate Trump. Let's find out just how.
The 45th President of the United States, the Republican nominee for this year's presidential election, Donald J. Trump. Welcome.
Yeah, they hate him, man.
That's the sound of hatred right there, right?
So
That's
I have
the
to
sound
tell
of
you,
hatred.
Wow.
I'm getting a little taste of what it's like to roll with you. So early voting, just so you know, for the state of Georgia just began, and they're already at 250,000 people in early vote. That will break a record in the state. And I cannot believe how people come for you already. I don't know if you know this, but early voting is a sign that people are coming out, as you know, but it's also a sign that there might be a few people who have something to say. So I want to share with you Senators Warnock and Ossoff, Mayor Bottoms and Atlanta Mayor Bottoms, and Amba Thurman's family have come out on a press call, and they're doing what's called a pre-buttal 2-hour town hall right now.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah? And I want to
Get better ratings, I promise.
I want to get your reaction to something, because I was a little thrown aback about how quickly this fight would start. And, oh, by the way, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota who wants to be the next vice president, his wife is showing up.
Where?
Tomorrow, here. Yep, she has an issue with the women's issues town hall. All right, so let's take a look at what Senator Warnock had to say. I want to get, for the first time, former President Trump's reaction to what's going on here in Georgia. Let's watch.
If you to not vote is a vote. It's a vote for Donald Trump. It's to send this man one step closer to the White House, which finally, let me say, will be literally dangerous.
Sure thing, comrade.
So many of the people that we know, dangerous as we've demonstrated for women. But this man, let me remind the Black men who are listening, the men of color, communities of color, he will be dangerous.
I'm a man of color.
You are up with minority voters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vice President Kamala Harris is hurting right now in that category of voting bloc.
Right.
And they know all women are at this town hall. This is a pre-buttal from a short time ago. Your reaction?
Well, I would say this. We just got the endorsement of Border Patrol all over the country. Border Patrol, virtually every sheriff's department, every police department, the Fraternal Order of Police, 400,000 police, the biggest in the country. We have every single. I don't think they have a policeman or a policewoman single. And we have the border. We had the safest border in the history of our country. Now we have the most unsafe border in the history of our country. So when you talk about safety, we had, it was just announced, as you know, last week, 13,099 murderers were released into our country. Drug dealers, drug addicts, everybody is released into our country. We've never had anything like this. We've never had a mess like this. 625,000 criminals released into our country, along with 21 million people. We have no idea who they are. And, you know, that's just a soundbite. I don't know this guy, but he got lucky as hell to win, I'll tell you that much. But it's a soundbite that they like to use. But remember this, law enforcement's with me 100%, and we have to keep our community safe. And we have to take these murderers that they've allowed to come through open borders without knowing anything about them. We have to take those people and we have to remove them. We have to get them out of our country.
We're going to get into all of it. I want, first of all, a show of hands. Who voted early today? All right. Sounds good. Oh, and they're waving.
Who did they vote for? I wonder.
That was the first thing you wanted to know. How many voted for me?
Who did you vote?
So another show of hands. How many of you actually feel good about how the economy is right now?
Oh, not one hand.
No.
Yeah.
Not
You
even
have
a
our
tiny
first
hand.
question on the economy. We will start there. Your first name, please, and tell us your hometown.
My name is Lisa, and I live in the city of Milton.
So that's what we see here right now.
First of all, welcome back to Georgia,
Thank you.
President Trump.
Thank you very much.
Americans are concerned about the state of our economy. Democrats argue that your policies favor the wealthy, especially through tax cuts for billionaires, while the middle class continues to struggle these last 3.5 years under the Biden-Harris administration. Could you outline your plans to revitalize the economy again as president and policies that specifically support the middle class when reelected?
Sure. Thank you very much. Great question. And sort of an easy question for me to answer because we have tremendous wealth in this country, but it's under our feet. It's called liquid gold. And we're going to bring down your energy costs. And with that, everything's going to follow. We're also going to make it possible for companies to come into our country again. You know, we've lost so many businesses. If you're in furniture making, like in North Carolina, they're flocking out of our country because we have politicians that don't know what to do. We're bringing them all back. We have a tax rate that's going to lure them, and we're going to protect them with tariffs so they can make money and so they don't get stolen. But we're going to have record-setting jobs. And just to know, I mean, the advantage I have is that I've done it. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We had never had an economy. And remember this, we also had the safest border in the history of our country. We never had a border that safe. The famous graph that I looked at, you know, my all-time favorite piece of paper.
It saved his life.
I mean, even my all-time favorite. I love that piece of paper. But that shows you, that day, the day I left office, the border was the safest it ever was in the history of our country. We had the fewest number of people. We have the least amount of drugs. Everything was human trafficking, which is now 12 times higher than it was when, and it's trafficking, I hate to say this, mostly in women. It's a vicious thing because of the internet and because of this administration, maybe more so than the internet. But we had the safest border. We had the best economy. Think of it, a combination of security and finance and all of the other things. And we're going to make it even better. We're going to make the border even better. But the border can't, I mean, we did things with the border that nobody could have done, including we built 571 miles of wall. And that wall worked. Then I got Mexico to give us soldiers, a lot of soldiers, 28,000 soldiers to protect us. I said, you have to protect us because you're letting all of these criminals come into our country. You have to protect us. They said, we're not going to do it. I said, good, then I'm just going to tariff all your goods until you do it. They said, like I said, we're going to do it. And they gave us the social. So we had great protection, and we had the best economy in the history of our country.
Okay, let's get back to the economy. According to America's Health Ranking Organization, 70.7% of Americans aged 65 and over voted in the past presidential election. So women are the largest registered and active group of voters. Social Security is important to some women, and people over the age of 65 are a very large voting bloc as well. You have said that you would not tax some of that Social Security money. How would that work?
We're not going to tax any of the Social Security money, the benefits that go to seniors, because what you've done, what they've done to you with inflation is a disaster. It's the economy. But in terms of really the numbers, it's the inflation. We had the worst, they say it's in 48 years, I say ever. We had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and the ones that really got hurt the worst are people that are on a fixed income, like our seniors. And I said, we're not going to tax Social Security benefits on our seniors, and we're not going to do that. And we can pay for that? And that will a little bit more than even make up to what you, I mean, you lost a fortune. You went up, again, they say 21%, I think it's 50%. And all of that money, you're on a fixed income. People that were buying breakfast, they could no longer buy breakfast. Yeah. They have a case. A woman goes up to the counter with 3 apples, and then she says, oh, I can't afford it. She brings 1 apple back. That's not supposed to be our country. That's not our country.
All right, let's move to a big campaign issue. I don't know if many people thought this would be where we are at this point, but in the election and in this country, transgender issues have become a focal point in races up and down the ballot. How many of you are worried about biological men and boys competing against women and girls in sports? Just show me. That's almost the entire, that is the entire room. And I know you have a question.
I do.
By the way, excuse me, it's so crazy. It's so crazy.
Your question, your name and your hometown.
My name is Linda, and I'm from Milton, Georgia.
Good.
But originally Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, wow.
I get that.
Good.
Yeah. My question is, how do you plan on addressing the transgender issue in women's sports? I have 9 grandchildren, 6 of them female, all playing sports, and we are very concerned for their safety, not just on the field and the courts, but in their locker rooms as well.
Right. It's such an easy question, and everybody in the room, and you know that answer, we're not going to let it happen. You look, just yesterday, they had a volleyball match. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Where a person that transitioned, okay, We have to be very careful because this can terminate your political career if you say it's slightly off, all right? But transitioned from man to female and was on a volleyball. And I saw the slam. It was a slam. I never saw a ball hit so hard, hit the girl on the head. But other people, even in volleyball, they've been permanently, they've been really hurt badly, women playing men. But you don't have to do the volleyball. We stop it. We stop it. We absolutely stop it. You can't have it. It's a man playing in the game. Physically, from a muscular standpoint, even if it was a little bit less, maybe they do all sorts of tests and drugs and everything else. Look at what's happened in swimming. Look at the records that are being broken.
So how do you stop it? Do you go to the sports leagues? Do you go to the Olympic
You just
councils?
ban it. The president bans it. You just don't let it happen. Not a big deal.
You have the next question. I know.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, as this shows, he does very well with women. Because women care about things besides abortion, Democrats.
Yeah, that's all the left has is abortion. Let's talk about murdering babies, and that's how we're going to get votes. Well, that's a bunch of sick votes. So
kind of a short-term thing if you think about it too. If all your voters are killing themselves, then whether they're transgender or through abortion, you're not going to have much of a political future. I guess that's why they needed us immigrants to come here.
Well, you saw the reception for President Trump. Okay, now the lefties are going to say, "Oh, well, those are just a bunch of Republican women that went into." No, that crowd was a mixture. There were some Republicans in there. There were some Democrats in there. There were some independents in there. And they cheered him very, very loudly when he was introduced. So that shows that they're paying attention. And yes, they are the largest voting bloc. And I believe that he should get the majority of those this time around. The left likes to play this abortion mantra up and say, "Oh well, all the pro-choice women are gonna vote for no," because there's even pro-choice women who don't agree with the radicalism of some of these policies that the left wants to put forth on the issue of abortion. So you can't tell me that the overwhelming majority of women in this country would agree with aborting a baby at the 9th month. That's just absolute insanity. And
we know that they don't. And it doesn't matter because Donald Trump took it out of the hands of the federal government anyways. So if people say, "Oh, I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump because he's anti-abortion," it's not his concern anymore. It's your concern. It's your state concern. He did that for you. So go and vote for him on the economy and immigration. That's his pitch, and I think Donald Trump's been very intelligent about it.
You got another one for us, Nick?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We will find out the thing that Donald Trump will never let happen again.
Let's move to a big campaign issue. I don't know if many people thought this would be where we are at this point, but in the election and in this country, transgender issues.
My apologies. That was actually part of the same clip from what we saw before. Donald Trump giving that amazing answer on transgender topics. So we will move on to another topic about abortion is what we will be having a clip of.
They wanted it back in the states for a vote of the people.
That's what we were talking about.
And the states are now voting for it. And honestly, some of them are going much more liberal, like in Ohio. I would have thought it might
some of them
be a
are
little
not
bit different, and some of them are not. But it's going to be redone. It's going to be redone. You end up with a vote of the people, and some of them I agree they're too tough, and those are going to be redone.
So that was just a short time ago. Harris Faulkner joins us live from Battleground, Georgia, where she hosted that Trump town hall. Harris, great job.
So we have the
President
rest of his
Trump
answer
said
here
on cracking down on Mexico, what he did and what he felt worked. Watch this.
Okay.
We built 571 miles of wall, and that wall worked. Then I got Mexico to give us soldiers, a lot of soldiers, 28,000 soldiers, to protect us. I said, you have to protect us because you're letting all of these criminals come into our country.
So the other topic that he had in this context was IVF treatments. We've been hearing so much about it. Tim Walz, I think, actually kind of wants to compete with Donald Trump almost for this title of what Donald Trump declares himself, the father of IVF.
Yep. I like that comment that he made about that.
Yes, we're about to hear that right here.
IVF, you had mentioned before
Right,
IVF.
let's get this question because I believe that's what this is about.
Oh, I want to talk about IVF. I'm the father.
You don't hear that every day.
I'm the father of IVF, so I want to hear this question.
This morning, Donald Trump spent time trying to close a cavernous gender gap with less than 3 weeks until Election Day. Part of his strategy, which played out at a town hall on Fox News with an audience of all women, was to talk about issues like inflation.
I don't think we need to
Just a fantastically attractive person from Alabama. She's a senator. And she called me up like emergency, because an Alabama judge had ruled that the IVF clinics were illegal and they have to be closed down. A judge ruled. And she said, friends of mine came up to me and they were so angry. I didn't even know they were going, it's fertilization. I didn't know they were even involved in it. Nobody talks about it. They don't talk about it. But now that they can't do it, she said, I was attacked in a certain way.
Okay, lots of things to unpack there.
Okay,
First of all,
I don't want to see her
if
face.
you referred to
Dana Bash.
Not at all.
That's a great last name because all she does is bash.
Well, without any facts as well, because honestly, as you remember, Hugo, where I was sitting, we actually were right behind Dana Bash and what was it, Jake
Tapper. Yeah.
I almost said his very famous nickname, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it's just so we don't get accused of not providing equal time. Let's take a quick look at some of Kamala's interview today with Greg Jarrett on Fox.
Indeed. We'll get that up in just 1 second, but it's very interesting.
But it was I tell you what, it was interesting to me is that she even agreed to go on Fox, and this to me, and I heard this from someone else earlier today. This to me indicates a great desperation on the part of the Harris campaign, because in the past you would never have seen a Democrat candidate go on Fox News. But the fact that she or her handlers, whoever made the decision to put her on Fox News, I think is a great indicator of how desperate they are at this last hour.
I agree. And she really did not particularly give herself any favors. This is going to be one of the more famous. Shout out to Raymond Kamala over here. I gave very Kamala answer when asked about Joe Biden's mental state.
Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
but
is.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump, which is why the people who know him best, including leaders of our national security community, have all spoken out. Even people who worked for him in the Oval Office, worked with him in the Situation Room, and have said he is unfit and dangerous and should never be president of the United States again, including his former vice president, which is why the job was open for him to choose another running mate. So that is a fact. That is a fact.
Oh my God. She would know a fact if it smacked her in the face.
Well, and actually, shout out to Freedom Tunes, animated conservatives. who made this good, hilarious point that, Joe Biden's kind of sabotaging Kamala by giving her so much praise and by showing, oh, she was the one, doing so much. We should just be thankful that she didn't immediately say, well, I was raised in a middle-class family and my mother was a little Indian.
I was waiting for that one. Well, Brett, here's something that I need to tell you. I was raised in a middle-class family.
That's great. Was your boss mentally deranged or like what? Or you just let that happen? Also, this Joe Biden guy who was so unfit to run for office, why was he fit enough to pick you as his vice president? Maybe we should question his decision on that one if he was so mentally unfit. But he was mentally fit when he chose you as vice president. I understand.
He wanted some competition. That's
I wanted someone to look worse than me so that I have somewhat of a legacy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
all right. So that's a little bit about what's happening in the last few weeks of the campaign. There's more to come, of course, as we get closer. Watch and see what unfolds in the last 20 plus days, or actually 20 days. And I'm still waiting for the infamous October surprise. The left always has one in the bag, and they unveil it at the most allegedly inopportune moment. But I think this time around, it's not going to resonate. It's going to look desperate. They're already looking desperate.
Well, what else do they have? I mean, I think they fired off all of the shells. What incendiary bomb do they have left for an supposed October surprise?
Yep.
That's when you fire off both barrels and you miss, this is what you get, Democrats.
All right. So we saved the best for last. Yesterday was the conclusion of Hispanic Heritage Month, and we wanted to close out the show today with a very lively rendition of the conga from Gloria Estefan and the Miami Sound Machine that will make your blood jump a beat. So
absolutely.
Let's close out. Thank you again for everyone for showing up tonight. We hope you enjoyed the show. Again, give us your feedback, like our Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube and X channels, and give us your feedback about the topics you'd like to see covered in the coming shows. So thank you again. And now let's have some fun.
Yes, absolutely.